Hello everyone, this is the first video on watercolor painting. There are a lot of fun ways to use watercolor, and today I'm going to show you 10 of my favorite techniques that are perfect for beginners. Technique 1. The graded wash. A graded wash incorporates a gradual change in the value or intensity of the color as the wash progresses. The wash usually begins with a darker or more intense amount of watercolor paint. As the wash moves down the paper, water is added to the paint mixture to gradually lighten the paint as the wash progresses. Technique 2. Flat wash. The flat wash technique is the most basic watercolor technique. It is done by wetting the area of paper to be covered by the wash. After wetting the surface, you have to mix sufficient amount of pigment needed to fill the entire area. Apply the pigment to a sloping surface from top to bottom in slight overlapping horizontal bands. Once the wash is complete, leave it to dry. Never work back into a drying wash, as the results can be tragic. Technique 3. Variegated wash. A variegated wash is a wash of two or more colors that merge when applied to wet paper while still maintaining some of their discrete colors. For this, you again want to wet your paper with a sponge or large brush. For slightly more control, pick the paper up and tilt the surface guiding the flows of paint into each other, or just use your brush to move the paint. These techniques take some practices, but are useful for backgrounds, textures, and other special effects. Technique 4. Color mingling. Watercolor is the most playful medium. It flows and dances beautifully with water. It can be light and transparent or dark and mysterious. I apply the colors separately and allow them to mingle on the paper. Technique 5. Masking fluid. Daniel Smith masking fluid flows easily, offers great coverage, and can be pulled cleanly from all watercolor surfaces as long as a month or more after application. This masking fluid may be applied with a brush or slide from the bottle. Off-white. When wet, it dries to a transparent caramel color. Wait for the masking fluid to be roughly dry before starting to paint. When the painting is completely dry, you can either use a soft eraser, a rubber pickup tool, or just peel it off the fluid by pulling it gently. You can pass your hand slowly on the paper to detect any small area of masking fluid you did forget to take off. Technique 6. Splatter. I have always loved experimenting with watercolor, and one technique that has always made me happy is using a splatter technique in my paintings. Load your brush with paint, then hold it over the top of your paper. With the other hand, tap your brush and watch the paint splatter onto your paper. Technique 7. Tissue. Crinkle a piece of tissue paper and place it on top of the wet paint. Be careful to cover the entire area. Position the tissue over the wash and gently press down onto the paper with the palms of your hands. Tissue paper is useful in creating textures in foliage, rocks, etc. Technique 8. Sunlight. This is the sunlight technique that I usually apply. After the paint has dried up, I will dip the brush into water and apply the sunlight shining from top to bottom. I will repeat this step until the color layer of the paper surface disappears, leaving a blank space. This technique is extremely simple and effective. Technique 9. Alcohol. While the paint is still wet, dip a Q-tip into rubbing alcohol and drop it onto the wet paint. For best results, let the alcohol drip from the Q-tip rather than touching the Q-tip to the paper. Technique 10. Cloud. This is a great technique for beginners and advanced painters. All you need are your watercolors, paper, water, a paintbrush, preferably a large flat brush, and paper towel. The key is painting is to sky past so that it's still wet when you blot out or lift off the clouds with your paper towel. Use your paper towel as your tool to create the clouds. Start with the clouds at the top of the paper because that is where it will dry fast. I like to paint these with my paper upright instead of a flat on table. It makes a better flat wash.